Good afternoon, friends, to the dog days of August. Here in Rhode Island, very humid, and welcome to another podcast. Today, I want to give a shout out to my boss who just left to Austin, Texas, Justin Gillen, and this video, in many ways, is dedicated to him. Justin and I talked a while back about the issue of steroids in professional sports, and in many ways, it appeared that we disagreed on a lot of the issue. And in actuality, I didn't. I really don't think with him as much as he seems to suggest. And he may have thought that I was actually a proponent or turned a blind eye to the whole steroid epidemic in pro sports. And let me explain my position and why I'm not a fan of steroids, yet I'm not nearly as averse to steroids as a lot of what I would call sanctimonious people out there. And I want to focus on something that's not specifically about steroids because that's a symptom. I want to talk about the culture of winning in the United States. There was an old saying by a former radio pastor. He said that it smells like smoke and it's from the pit of hell. What that means is like these things that appear to be, maybe innocent or just cultural things that we accept without really thinking too much about are really a philosophy that's from Satan himself, not from anywhere else. And I recall watching a clip of a video of George Patton where he talked about, America and how America loves winners and you can't be a loser in America. And we have a culture in the United States that basically has created winning to such a degree that it's a form of idolatry. And that is why, or one of the reasons why, steroids are inevitable in our culture, and why athletes will take steroids. I can remember a time when I was a kid. I was a big Minnesota Viking fan, and one of the Vikings had a coach by the name of Bud Grant who took the Vikings to 4 Super Bowls when I was a kid. And the Vikings lost every one of those Super Bowls, and I was greatly disappointed. And of course, because of that, many people think Bud Grant's legacy as a coach is one where he can't be considered great because, after all, he lost 4 Super Bowls. And it's all about winning. If you don't win the big game, if you don't win the championship, somehow you're less than great. People seem to forget that prior to Bud Grant taking the coaching position with the Vikings, he had won 4 Grey Cups in Canada. And Canadian football is not nearly the love affair that the National Football League is. It's like a second cousin to professional hockey up in Canada. And I believe because of that, the priorities of sports in Canada, particularly football, were at a reasonable level. And Bud Grant coached there, and he proved that he could win big games. The difference was that in the National Football League, you have to make your living as a coach almost to the degree where sports is a god. Most of these coaches work 70, 80 hours a week. If you're a coach, in the case of Bud Grant, one time he had called a team meeting, and he arrived to the team meeting late, and he told his players, "Sorry, I'm late because my son had a high school basketball game that went into overtime, and I didn't want to leave." I believe because of that attitude, because Bud Grant didn't have football set up as a god, he probably didn't win the Super Bowls. And the guy who would basically divorce his wife like a Jimmy Johnson, said, "I can't be married and be a football coach," those are the type of guys that win. And we as Americans honor that. We honor the people who would do anything, win at all costs, and focus all their efforts on that end. And just the idea of professional sports creates that. Once we leave beyond amateurism, and once people get paid, and there's a fan base created, winning becomes everything. It's unsatisfying. It's unsatisfying to play well. We must win. And because the stakes are so high, are we really surprised that professional athletes would cheat and take steroids? It would be almost inevitable. And actually, when you think about it, because we take that attitude that we want to win so highly, wouldn't it be true that really we would like to turn a blind eye towards things that would show something for what it is, like the issue of steroids? If we don't know steroids exist, then all of our players, all of our teams can do whatever they want to win for us. But once we know it, all of a sudden we have to address it. It's kind of like when I work at my store, when we change over an end cap to go to an next sale. When we do that, we see the dirt underneath the display. We know the dirt's there every day, but because it's concealed, we don't do anything about it, and we actually don't care because we can't see it. So the department will always look good. But once the end cap is being switched over, we see the dirt, we feel we got to do something about it. Now we got to show that it's dirty. We got to clean it. Well, that's kind of like the steroid issue. We see sports in a way that it's great, it's exciting. Players do great achievements. We're all about winning, and when guys hit home runs or score touchdowns or get huge, we just think this is like, Superman and heroism. Not thinking about the whole effort that goes into that and how you got to devote your whole life in an unbalanced way to one thing, and that's sports. But when we see that, we're fine with it. But once somebody reveals to us that it's somehow cheating, and once it's out there, then we say, oh, this is an outrage. We got to do something about it. Although we might have known something about it before, but we were able to suppress it. But once it becomes public knowledge, then we have to deal with it. And that's what the steroid issue is. It's a symptom of a fact that our culture is addicted to winning. It's addicted to sports. It's not balanced. It's a philosophy that is not based upon being a good person. It's upon achievement, and that's a worldly system. That's not what God looks at. God doesn't look at us how great we achieve. He looks at us as people and how we relate to others, and if we do good things, if we love our neighbor, and things of this nature. But no, we in America love winners, and if somehow you don't win everything, you're second rate. And think about that if you're somebody coming up to play professional sports. If you're in a big race coming up, a big event, and you know that in the back of your mind, if you lose, all of a sudden that image you have is somehow gone. What are you going to try to do? You're going to try to do whatever you can to make sure you put your best effort forward with whatever aids or help you can to win. And that's why we have steroids. It doesn't have, you go to a high school football game, a high school baseball game, you enjoy the game. Parents usually enjoy the game. But once you get to another level, Americans demand winning. And if they don't get it, they'll throw you under the bus and say you're a bum in many senses, or they won't validate you as a potential great player because somehow your career was incomplete. You didn't win. And that's my thoughts for today. Until next time, Johnny W. Bread. Enjoy your day.